Hi, everyone. Joey Reese here. Welcome back to week 6, the forgiveness story. I have a little story beforehand, though, and it's about goal setting. It's about um, the end result that we all seek. You know, when I get asked to speak anywhere for youth or a conference or whatever, at the beginning, I think not so much anymore because people kind of know what I talk about. But at the beginning, a lot of folks wanted me to come and talk to their youth group, their teen group, their group of alternative students, their group of high risk or at risk this or that or the other thing. And they wanted me to come and talk about like behavior stuff, like how to change their behavior. And so these are adults listening to either hear about what they can do to get their kid to change their behavior, or to talk directly to the kids about like taking responsibility for better and more appropriate behavior. And I used to mostly roll my eyes at this because I was that kid, right? I was the kid that was like, I had so much suffering inside and I had so much pain, and people just kind of wanted to gloss over that and be like, just act better, just show up better, show up differently. And I couldn't. Like, I didn't have the skills. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have space. I didn't have room. So the forgiveness story, this is the kind of the balancing act that I want to talk about, is that it's going to basically be a to-do. It's going to be basically like goal setting. It's going to basically be about creating mantras for yourself or ways to look at your life differently than how you might have been at the beginning of this 6 weeks ago. But here's the thing. This comes after the 5 weeks of the additional work that we've already been doing. And for me, that's everything. Like, we got to make some room up in this heart space or head space or gut space to hold these new ideas. And if it's filled with sadness and stories of pain and trauma and survival, then there's no room for this step. So this is where it feels familiar. This is where a lot of people are going to want to go. Tell me what to do now. And it's all the first steps first. First steps first. Take care of you first. Like, find meaningful ways to be heard. Find meaningful ways for you to feel like you can talk about and make space for you to talk about and to listen to yourself. Like, make room, make time for that. Some of that is done through a mindfulness practice. Yeah, the more that I sit with myself and listen to the thousands of thoughts that are just kind of rotating, and then the rabbit holes I used to go down, it was exhausting. I was spending a lot of time up here trying to manage depression or anxiety, trying to manage all of the stories that were just kind of driving me crazy, making me feel overwhelmed, making me feel exhausted, keeping me up at night, preventing me from living my life. Yeah, all I had room was to blame. It's his fault, her fault, my fault. Everybody's fault for why I was so miserable. So make sure, please, to go through the steps before you go here. Otherwise, this will feel empty, just like a poster hanging on the wall that says, live your best life. Yeah, we've all seen it, and yet here we are. Okay. So the forgiveness story, it's quite simple. Quite simple. The magic is in the practice. Because ultimately, we are the stories that we tell ourselves. And for so long, I was talking about in my head out loud to anyone who would listen, just in my demeanor, my attention, what my kind of internal landscape was doing is woe is me stories, all the stories of why I deserve to be the way I am, why I'm so sad, why I get to, never have anything that I want in my life. Like, the stories that I was telling myself was of sadness, of my pain. And that's all I had space for. So just first, listen. And then rewriting the story sometimes gets like, ugh, yeah, it's not as simple as that. Well, it is. We got to practice it, though. We're not very good at it. So decide what story you want to tell yourself. And if it's one of forgiveness, if it's one of letting go, if it's one of like grabbing your own life by the horns and living your own life, then you got to tell that story. And it might feel unfamiliar, right? If it's a new story, it's a new story. So here are the steps. The forgiveness story. looks forward. So think about that, the pain stories, right? It was all about, what happened to me back then in the past. So this story is grounded and rooted in this present moment, through our breath, through our sensories. Uh, how am my skin feeling? What am I hearing? What am I smelling? Like, it's grounded and rooted in this present moment, but it looks forward. How do you want to feel going forward? Who do you wish to be? How do you wish to feel? You got to first set those intentions, and those matter. It's not one of those, it's first of the month, so set your intentions. It's some of that, but it's truly thinking about what kind of person do you think you want to be? Have you even had that conversation, or were you too busy talking about the kind of person you are as a result of your history? Yeah, so determine that. And the foundation is created on your positive intention, which is where we left off last week. And this positive intention is not somebody else's positive intention. So there are some people who want to walk around and their main goal is to protect their family, right? And we talked about all the different ways that that can go awry. That's not my positive intention, although it's a good one. That like when I check in with my heart and my gut, I'm like, yeah, that's not mine. Some of my positive intentions that I know, that I feel like as a drumbeat in my soul, is like, I want to be heard. Like, I want to have space. I want to feel like I matter without having to work so hard at showing that I matter. Like, I want to feel some sense of worthiness. I want to have a voice, and I want to belong. I want like that kind of love that's unconditional. Like, those are some of my positive intention. So let's take the one about like wanting to be heard. Wanting to be heard was really difficult to execute back then, because I didn't even know what I wanted to say, because I was listening to so many things going up here and it was so noisy, and I was chasing down, rabbit holes of judgment and assessment, and, what if so-and-so thinks about this, and so noisy. I had to first, chill out, calm down. So this mindfulness practice to really get in touch with what truly is my positive intention, and then speak on it. Like, I make these videos, I go up and like teach group fitness the way I want to teach group fitness. And some of that I know is not like the best. It's not the way somebody else would do it. It's the way I want to do it. Like, I want to do it like that because I feel like I have something to say. Yeah. So your positive intention is going to be yours. It might be tied to your purpose, might be, but it's like yours to discover. And then that's the foundation. And then the goals that are set on top of that aims at a life that achieves the goal that are in my positive intention. So if I want to like show up on my life and be heard, then I have to have something to say. And then the things that I do for work, for example, aims at a life that showcases my voice. And so I do things like this. I don't know how many people watch it or actually do it. Like, that's not my goal, is to manage other people's like response to me. It's for me to discover what is my platform, what is it that I want to say, and then live that. Some of the other things, like the deeper ones, like of wanting to be loved, a lot of times I took that intention and wanted other people to show me love, right? That's not what I meant. I wanted to live a life of love. And so I had to change a lot of things about how I treated myself, how I treated my body, how I treated my mind, how I treated my time, how I dealt with the energies around me. If somebody was like, I'll be in your space, like I date, right? And there's a lot of people who want to give me half-ass shit. And I'm like, no, thanks. Like, I'd rather really treat myself with love and then be around spaces that offer that than to be in a relationship that feels empty to me, because love has taken on this grander, bigger meaning. And it's not to judge that person. It's just because I know what love feels like, and I know what it feels like when I treat myself with love. And then I know what I want out of my life and the relationships in my life. Yeah. So to really dig into your positive intention and then set the specific goals aiming towards that. What does love and what does belonging mean for me? And will that mean that I have to change the way that I interact with my adult children who I let into my life? And the answer is absolutely yes. Yeah. And that'll take work. And so be clear on this step. 3, the forgiveness story lets go of the victimhood present in the grievance story. Like, we've all been hurt. We've all been wronged, right? But ultimately, I'm in charge of my feelings. And so to take emotional responsibility for that, and then to direct myself in the way that I interacted in life, that's important. So my response to my life is important. So what does that mean for me to let go of the victimhood? So every time I want to blame, and go, the reason why I don't know how to love is that I wasn't shown love. Well, then I need to take responsibility for that right now and go, okay, what if now I'm the parent? I am. What if it was my job to teach it? Ooh, it is. Then what if then I am responsible for teaching myself? Ooh, it is. And so there's some responsible steps that I need to take to manage my emotional state and how I see myself, because ultimately, I'm the main character in my story. Not only that, I'm the editor, the director, the producer. I'm the set designer, right? I'm the casting director. So all of those things are me. So not only is it the story that I'm telling, that's who we are. It's like I'm in charge of all of the pieces. And at the beginning, that can feel overwhelming. So it's like taking it one step at a time. First, it was for me to go, okay, if I'm the main character, then what does that mean? And then I get to start extending it out. Okay, who do I want in my life? Who do I want as my supporting characters? Yeah. And that is true for all of us. You are the main character in your story. So how are you writing yourself, your storyline? What kind of the things that you have control over, are you managing those well? Yeah. Do you feel good? Those are important things to consider. So your forgiveness story demonstrates that you understand the importance of not taking experiences too personally, because we're all out here just trying to live our life, and often it'll bump into somebody else, right? So it's to kind of really recognize that it's not all about me, and it's about me too. So how do I hold both of those things lightly, right? And in doing so, internally, I have a little bit more space, a little bit more expansion to have compassion for others and for myself. And then this story demonstrates your understanding that peace does not come from an imagined perfect life. So if such and such thing did happen or didn't happen, then I would. Like, we can let go of those if-then scenarios. Yeah. This thing called peace and joy, it is a state of mind. And it's a state of mind and a state of being that we can cultivate through a mindfulness practice, right? So that we can show up mindfully. So that's every moment. So this moment, we practice that this moment. And when you look at this document that you've written, and so I suggest, setting a timer for 15 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then really writing this out. So it might sound like a manifesto at the end. It might sound like poetry. Maybe it's just some prose. Maybe if you're a to-do lister, maybe it's a to-do, but this to-do is grounded in your positive intention. This to-do is grounded in the work that you've done of kind of excavating these stories so that you made room for this now new document, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a dance. Maybe it's not like handwritten stuff at all. Maybe it's a painting. I don't know how your forgiveness story will show up for you in your life, but go in, because each one of us in our body has the clues, has the keys of what pulls us and what makes us feel at home and full. So it's your job to kind of figure that shit out, right? It's my job to figure my own out. And in that uniqueness, if we're all showing up to each other, like, that is the greatest gift that we can give one another, is our own authentic presence and a willingness to live our lives fully, and then show up and authentically be present for each other so that we can empathically listen and then hold that compassionate space. So, I mean, it can all go woohoo really fast. It can all feel like, yeah, just peace and love, baby. Or it can feel like a lot of work. I think it's a little bit of both. There is pieces of magic, and there's a grueling work where I'm like, oh, Joey, okay, remember, okay, I'm having some revenge fantasies here. I got to hold space. And then sometimes, like when I'm getting ready for group, all of a sudden I'm overcome by emotion in my preparation. And then I'm like, oh God, what am I grieving here? I got to hold space. And I'm crying like 15 minutes before I'm logging onto something. Like authentically being there for yourself isn't always convenient. Like some days I'm like, oh, okay. And because I have to log in and hold a class, like I have to play some pump up music. Right? I'm not going to show up in a group like in the having other people take responsibility for my emotional state or have to caretake for me because I have a job to do, right? So there is this balancing work of concreteness and magic, this woohoo-ness and like work, some scheduling and some letting go. So this balance, each one of us will calibrate differently, but it is your job to check in with your willingness to do this work, to discover and to unfold in this growth. So that's it, you guys. That's 6 weeks of the Mindful Forgiveness workshop and the way that we do it in this mindful forgiveness world. If you watched any of these videos up to today, congrats and thank you very much. And if you're like, I want to talk about these concepts, then sign up for a group. It'll be posted in this page, the Mindful Forgiveness Institute page. For some of the graduates, we have a graduate group called Mindful Forgiveness Center. It'll be on my website, joeyreese.com. And then you'll see posts from other facilitators. The connection and the real work of like being vulnerable to share your struggles and your triumphs in the presence of others will really help to facilitate and jumpstart this process. So I encourage you to sign up. I encourage you to log in. I also host attitudinal healing sessions, and that series will be coming up soon. So check it out here, wait for that here. And then as always, feedback, comments are welcome. So take good care of yourselves, you guys.